Well, this whole month of August, we have been living in the kingdom. Is that right? And what is that kingdom? Is it the kingdom of God? And where is that kingdom? Right within and all around us. This is a spiritual kingdom. It's a kingdom that is within and all around, but we have to have spiritual eyes, spiritual intuition, spiritual knowing in order to inhabit it. And when we do, our outer world reflects that inner world that we are living in. When we are living from this kingdom, there's no stress, there's no worry, there's only wholeness, there's only prosperity. That's what I've been playing with this month, is the fact that in the kingdom is prosperity. Prosperity is wholeness of being, of our physical being, of our creative endeavors, of our relationships. That's what prosperity is all about, and that's what the kingdom is all about. So today's topic is entitled, Faith is the Foundation. And as I was thinking about this topic, I thought, gee, I probably should have started with this one in the beginning of the month rather than ending with it, since faith is the foundation. But that's okay. As I wrote in the thought for the week, we can have faith in the truth, in the reality. But we can also have faith in fear, in lack and limitation. It depends on our perspective. It depends on where we place our faith is what is going to show up in our lives. So when we are living in the kingdom, there is no duality. There is no thought that there is God, good, love, and something else. That is not a reality. There is really, literally, only love, only God, only that truth of our being. And everything else is a haunting shadow that is not anchored in reality whatsoever. What the truth is that we have to let go of this idea of the fact that there is good and there is evil. Joel Goldsmith says we have to let go of the fact even that there is good, because that is a judgment in and of itself. We have to literally stay in the mode that God is, period. God is, and that I am. That I, with a capital I, is not our little egoic small self with a small s. That I is our true identity, that God self. And when we can recognize that, when we can hold on to that, and when we can live from that, life is beautiful. Life works. As we are children, when we think about it, growing up, we look to mommy and daddy to give us our needs. We depend on them for providing for us, right? And that's, from a child's perspective, mommy and daddy are the ones that we look to. And it's been said and been taught many times in this spiritual life that God is the Father. And many times we look at God as our Father, as our provider. But I'm going to suggest that that idea is not a bad one. I'm not putting judgment on that it's wrong. I'm just saying that it is one of the entry-level steps into the spiritual life. And so as we think about the fact that I am made in the image and likeness of God, that I am the Father, that I am the provider. And when we get to that level, we have grown in our maturity of our spiritual awareness. And rather than begging and pleading and asking God, the Father, somewhere out there for what it is we want, we recognize that when I go within and I have the kingdom here, there is nothing that I can ask for that I don't already have, that isn't already available to me. So we're maturing in our spiritual awareness to have no separation between what we are as this image of God and the person that someone calls us by our name, whatever that name might be. And so it behooves us to remember to go within and have this type of activity time and time again of saying to ourselves, be still and know that I am God. To remind ourselves to go within and be still, let go of all the fetter and all the flurry that's going on around us, be still and know that I am God, and to come from the perspective that all is well, regardless of the appearances. Because we want to come from the perspective that judgment is right judgment. That's what our master teacher told us, that we need to judge with right judgment. Because this is a spiritual world we're living in. It's amazing how much we don't even recognize. So as we're reading Joel Goldsmith and as we're reading the Paramahansa Yogananda's autobiography, there's so much more in this world based on a spiritual reality than what we are even aware of, functioning in and of. I was talking to a friend the other day and explaining how that when I was little, my eyesight was really, really, really poor, really bad. And I didn't know it. I thought that's the way the world looked, you know? And it wasn't until I was in 4th grade that I sat in the back of the room and Mrs. Hilton, my teacher, told my parents that maybe you ought to have her eyes checked because I think she's not able to see the board. That's when I got my eyes checked, that's when I got my glasses, and my world changed. I mean, tremendously. Totally, I had no clue. I just remember like looking out and I can actually see the telephone lines. You know, those little wires out. I'd never seen those before. It was just a big fuzz, you know. Or like in the carpeting, like in this carpeting, there's like little tiny tufts. You know, it was just one big glaze to me. But this friend sent me this text, and I just thought that it was so poignant. And so I'm going to read it because I just can't make it any better than what it is. It says, sitting here thinking of you, and am wondering if there is a teachable lesson that you might pass on to others in the comparison of your early childhood sight issues, not knowing it was an abnormality, thinking it was simply the way the world was. While all the time, the world you came to see was there, waiting for that teacher to nudge you and your parents towards actions that would bring you glasses and eventually contacts and a fundamentally different and more accurate perspective and experience. He's talking about the earthly world here, right? And the way most of us view and experience the world materialistically. While there is the world spiritually discerned, awaiting our being nudged towards actions that will bring us a new and more accurate perspective and experience. It is always there, awaiting our becoming aware of its possibility, acquiring the desire to seek and experience it, and then taking the appropriate actions to move us towards its realization. And you may have already thought and talked about all of this. And I had, from my personal standpoint, I thought about the fact, why did I come into this earth plane with such a poor eyesight? And my answer to that was, I probably did not want to see the world. from my soul's perspective. But I didn't make the connection that this person made between our materiality of this world and the spiritual world, and the fact that we can grow, we can become more aware, that we can live in this spiritual world that's right here and now. I had something come up to me, it's been about, I don't know, a month ago or so, and I had this thought that just said, and it just came, it's one of those thoughts that just come. I didn't generate it. It just said, if I had only known. And of course, my ego mind is saying, if I'd only known what? What is it if I'd only known what? And I believe that it is this. It is the fact that this spiritual world is awaiting our recognition of it. There's so much more than what we can see on this earth plane. So I think according to our topic this morning of faith, I think that we want to highlight a few items that I'd like to highlight. Number one, the first thing is that we want to change our perspective on the fact that we are living in two worlds, because we really are living in one spiritual world. And all of the physicality that surrounds us, that we can see with our eyes, is just a reflection, just an output of that spiritual world. And that spiritual world is whole, complete, and perfect in every way, just as we are, just as everything is. And so when we have faith, we trust. We let go of the appearances that seem to be disheveled, and we judge with right judgment. I wanted to share with you the Science of Mind reading from August 24th. It says, judge not. I love this quote. Who's it from? Oh, Stephen Covey. Think about this. We judge ourselves by our intentions, and we judge others by their actions. How many times have we had a good intention and then we messed it up, we didn't really do it right or whatever, but we say, but I had a good intention. It was okay because I had good intentions. Can we flip it around and do that with the other person? The other quote is from Ernest Holmes. The song of hate must be laid down if we are to sing a hymn of praise. We must let go of any sense of separation from good if we are to become conscious of union with God. He goes on to say, judgment wreaks havoc on our judgment. Interesting sentence. It can cause us to make bad decisions, which may be unfair, or say things we may regret. Anyone who has been unfairly judged knows how bad it feels. People who have been hurt by judgments are often the kindest people in the world. We are responsible for the quality of our lives. Oftentimes, it's easier to blame than to take responsibility. Taking responsibility, however, is empowering. When we blame, we can't change what is happening because we give up our power. When we take responsibility, we take charge of our lives. Richard Bach writes, every person, all the events of your life are there because you have drawn them there. What you choose to do with them is up to you. In their book, The Fifth Agreement, Don Miguel Ruiz and Don Jose Ruiz ask us to examine the judgments we have about ourselves and to remember those judgments are all opinions, representing a point of view. The real question is, are they true? Each of us is what we believe. Ask yourself what you believe you are. What do you believe is creating your story? The truth is that the real you is unique. As Mahatma Gandhi wrote, your beliefs become your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits become your character becomes your destiny. Today I release all judgments. I remember we are all God, expressing and doing the best we can. I allow the peace and love of Spirit to flow forth in all I say and do. So release those judgments, those opinions. Be kind to yourself and others. Be allowing. I think the second step is to accept our oneness with all. When we have faith that I and you and the tree and the cat, oh, by the way, the kittens are going to go home today. They've been with me for about a month now, and they've really grown, and they've been having lots of fun. But if we're one with all, it doesn't matter what it is. It's all the one life force, that we are one with it. The third one, accept that there is divine timing. What we used to call here spirit speed. Spirit speed is somewhat unknown to us at times. So accept that divine timing is happening now, always. And to release the judgment of angst over it's not supposed to be happening or it's supposed to be happening. Whatever is happening is. Accept that divine order is always in play. That this goodness, this love, this peace is now established. And that we live in the eternal now. We live in the eternal now, so that we give up all of the regrets that happened in the past. We give up all the concerns of what's going to be in the future and just focus ourselves on the now. For that's where life is happening. I believe when we consciously do these things, that our grip on this materialistic life is loosened, and our spirit is able to be set free to fly into higher ground, over ground that hasn't been discovered yet. When we have the faith and the knowing that wherever I am, God is, good is, love is, peace is, all is well. And that's the result we will have, absolute peace. And as I wrote in the thought for the week, I have had this song that I have sung to myself for years and years and years and years and years. My theme song, I guess you'd call it. And I wanted to close with that this morning. By the way, I sound a little nasally because, yes, my little granddaughter has a cold, and Grandma evidently shared, I think I did share a spoon with her, which is dumb. Anyway, I had a COVID test. It's not COVID. But I am a little nasally. So anyway, I want to share with you this song. I'm always finding rainbows, knowing good comes my way. My dreams can always be fulfilled as I love each day. Some fellows look and find the bluebird. I always look and find the sun. Some fellows make a winning sometimes. I always know my good will come. Believe me, I'm always finding rainbows, knowing God's ever-present goodness is mine. And yours, and yours, and yours, and yours. Namaste.